everyone, this is Frozen 2 Fanboy 1122 here, and here is the second part of my Phase 4 reviews leading up to Thor, Love and Thunder. This time, it's going to be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This film tells the story of martial arts master, Shang-Chi, who lives his life as a normal person in the US with his girlfriend, Katie. This all changes when Shang-Chi reveals his true nature and discovers he is being drawn into the Ten Rings, so he must return home and confront his past. So, when I first heard about Shang-Chi back in 2019 Comic-Con, I had no idea who this character was, but one thing that was intriguing was that this is the first time Marvel is doing something Asian. I was still excited for the movie since it is the MCU. I found the trailers to be very underrated and got my hype for the film. And after seeing the film for myself, I gotta say this movie is amazing. When I saw this film in theaters, I will admit I gave it too much praise by putting it as the best movie of 2021 over films like The Suicide Squad, The Mitchells vs. The Machines, and some more better films that came out before Shang-Chi. I also said this was better than Black Panther at first, but now I think Black Panther is better. But don't get me wrong, this movie is a masterpiece and it's in my top 10 best MCU films list. I'm glad that it got positive reviews and was even seen as the highest rating audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, tied with Spider-Man: No Way Home. Despite not loving the film as much as I used to before, it's sad that one is giving this movie the credit, appreciation, and recognition it deserves anymore. People still talk about Black Panther to this day, but not Shang-Chi doesn't get talked about anymore. This is starting to feel like an underappreciated MCU film. So, do I have any negatives with the film? Honestly, no, I have no negatives. The main reason why I decline my thoughts on this film is because I just think there are better movies out there. So, let's talk about the positives. This is the best origin story MCU film in my opinion. Shang-Chi is a very interesting main character with a lot of character development as well as a badass. I originally said the villain is the best character of the film, which I will get to later, but nowadays, Shang-Chi himself is now my favorite character in the film. Katie is such an awesome character and my favorite Aquafina role. She has a very strong chemistry with Shang-Chi, and she is the funniest MCU character ever. I laughed so hard at her jokes. She's even funnier than Sisu from Raya and the Last Dragon. And now, let's talk about the villain of the movie, Wenwu. While I don't really praise him as much as I did before, he is one of the best and most well-written villains in the MCU with a clear motivation. He is definitely in my top 10 favorite MCU villains, despite there are some better ones. The action is easily the best part of the film for me. This has some of the best action in the MCU and one of the best martial arts action I've seen. The action is very fast and entertaining as well. I know the boss fight is most people's favorite action scene and I can see why. The Macau fight is awesome as well, but my personal favorite action scene is the final battle. I love how over the top it is, gave me a lot of chills, and left me on the edge of my seat. The visuals are also stunning as well. I can see why it got a Best Visual Effects nomination at the Oscars, but there are better visual effects in 2021 that didn't get nominated, like Eternals. Oh, and I forgot to talk about Shang-Chi's sister, Xialing, as well. She was awesome and honestly a pretty underrated character. She deserves better recognition than people give her, and she is a badass as well. Evelyn Wang is in this movie as well. Michelle Yeoh was excellent in this film as Shang-Chi's aunt. I called this her best performance at first until I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I'll definitely review that film very soon. The most surprising thing about the film was seeing Trevor from Iron Man 3 in this, and I think they improved his character much better this time around. The representation of Asian culture is very impressive, especially coming from an Asian myself. Besides being an epic martial arts film, it's also a very touching movie as well, and the second act turns into a family tragedy kind of story which is much deeper than you think. Oh, and I cannot forget the score. The score is another aspect that deserves more appreciation because it is that good. Overall, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is one of the most unique and different MCU films that presents the best origin story inside the MCU and one of the best martial arts action I've ever seen. This and Black Panther to show that the MCU is capable of making films with different race, and as an Asian myself, I am proud of how this film turned out. I give Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings a 10 out of 10. So, that ends my second Phase 4 review marathon. What's your opinion on the movie? Please comment down below, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and stay tuned for the next part of the marathon where I review and defend the underrated gem that is Eternals. Bye guys, see you on the next video.